So for today's video, we're going to make this pile of 13.5 Briggs and Stratton engine a working engine again. It's got a few issues, as you could tell, kind of in parts here. Looks like it's mostly there. Let's see what we can do about making it run again. So, I don't know anything about this engine except for the fact that the previous owner told me that the carburetor leaked. First thing you notice is that the valve cover is loose. Finished taking the valve cover off, which I see a rocker arm laying down in the bottom of it. Kind of curious about that. Oh no! Rocker cover's off, and we see a rocker laying in the bottom of it, which looks like the intake rocker. So that's lovely. It's missing the throttle linkages and the choke linkage too. Got a new throttle linkage, well, used throttle linkage from the last video of the 19 horsepower teardown, and we're gonna hope like hell that it's the same size. The new throttle linkage goes right in there. The angled side goes into the hole right there. So you just put that in there like this and go out. And then that goes out to your carburetor. Then there's a little spring that clips in the hole underneath of it. There's a little tiny hole down there just for the spring. And that goes right there, like so. The next thing to do is take your throttle, or the next thing to do is to take your choke linkage and clip it in the hole on the carburetor, the furthermost one from the carburetor. Let's say there's two holes there. Put it on the outside one. Then come down and clip your throttle linkage to the butterfly. Then install the other end of the spring that you put at the governor side. Then once you get the throttle linkage installed, you have to slip the choke linkage in the little slotted hole that's right there. It'll slip in just like that. Then install your two 3/8 bolts into the head. Your throttle linkage and your choke linkage should look like this. And then that should look like this for the choke, and then the throttle linkage exactly how I explained it before, and you should be okay. Take your 3/8 wrench and tighten up the intake manifold to the block. Don't have to be too crazy. Just make sure it's pretty snug. Now your carburetor is installed. Okay, now we'll adjust the valves. I don't particularly like this style of lock nut for these valve rockers here. I like the new style better than those. I have a set of new rocker nuts. To set the valve clearance on these newer style rocker nuts, you'll need a 5/8 wrench and a Torx 20 screwdriver and a feeler gauge. So you take your feeler gauge, insert it in between the tap it, and the rocker arm, and feel out 6/1000. But I just noticed something that I should have noticed earlier. I'm missing the little caps that go on the valves. It is imperative that these little tappets are on top of the valve stems to prevent the rocker arm from squishing in the top of the valve. Set this one at 6 thousandths. Take our screwdriver and tighten in the center Torx lock bolt. Get that snug. And just give it a quarter turn on the wrench. Alright, now you're guaranteed that it's not going to go loose on you. Now we'll rotate over and do the intake side now. I'm going to set that at 4 thou. And again, it's missing the tappet cover. So I'll reinsert this one on this side as well. So now we should have our compression back. So we'll take the plug out and turn it over to make sure we get all the water out. Take the plug out on this. It's a 5/8 spark plug wrench. And that's just loaded with water. Now we'll go ahead and crank the engine to get whatever remaining water is in there out. Oh boy, there's a lot of water in that one. Now that we know all the water is out of the cylinder, we'll go ahead and replace the spark plug. Water does not compress, so it is always a good idea to make sure that any kind of foreign material like that is out of the engine. Now we take notice that there is no connections to the coil or to the carburetor. For some reason they've felt the need to remove all that. The single black lead into the bottom of the ignition coil. That'll serve as a shutoff. And that gets routed underneath the starter back to the stator, which the stator has its own connection for right here. Then we route this gray and black wire underneath the shroud. And that gets sent over to the carburetor for its feed. We got the shroud back on there again. There's 4 bolts holding the shroud on, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And we got our throttle cable on there, and we got our gas hooked up. Then we'll go on and start it up for the first time and see how it runs.